I'm Dante St. James. I'll be taking you through this particular topic today, which is all about designing a far better website for a service business. Now, this isn't so much an e-commerce business instruction guide, but some of the principles can be brought across to e-commerce websites as well. This is primarily, I still sort out this damn camera. It's primarily about those of you who are designing websites for your service-based business. And there's a lot of principles in here that come from the Creating a Story Brand book by Donald Miller. I reference it quite a lot in my webinars because it's been something which has obviously been very, very close to my heart because it's something I've had to study a lot in depth, and my own websites are built using these particular methods as well. So I'll share my screen and get us started so we can get underway. Now, don't forget, if you are on live on Zoom right now, you can ask in the Q&A section, in the chat section, just go along, ask questions. This is completely interactive. So don't feel like if there's something you don't understand, please just ask the question. I'll be more than happy to share the information with you. In the meantime, though, if you are watching this afterwards on YouTube, please do put those questions in the comments below. And while you're there, please pop a tap on that subscribe button. That should really help us to be able to deliver more great content like this for free to you on YouTube as well. Let's get underway. A quote first up from Donald Miller, the author of Creating a Story Brand. Never assume people understand how your brand can change their lives. Tell them. That seems like a really obvious thing. Tell them how to do it. Now, how do you do that? Part of that's going to be through your website, and that's what we're going to go through today. What we're going to cover is the problem with websites, and conversely, what a website should do. We'll look at what websites and how they work with our brains and the survival instincts that play so many different roles in what it is we do. We'll look at what needs to be in your website and examples that work. Examples of websites that absolutely work and have worked, including my own, which I like something like a 200% increase in conversions to bookings on my own website just by applying these exact same principles. So that's why I get quite evangelistic about it. It's not because I've had to pay a fortune to become a story brand advisor. It's not because I've had to go and I'm selling this scenario at all. I'm not, but it's all because it actually has worked for me, and I've seen it work for a number of my clients as well. This is brought to you by Business Station and Digital Solutions from the Australian Small Business Advisory Services, which is an initiative of the Australian Government in conjunction with Regional Development Australia in Brisbane for Queensland and Treaty Business Consulting in the Northern Territory. You can watch this later on through the Business Station or Dante St. James channels on YouTube. Just search those names. You'll definitely find us on there. Business Station got well over 300 different videos you can follow. And myself, probably about 150, probably nearly 200 these days of different videos that I've been presenting over the last couple of years. In fact, I think I only started putting them onto YouTube about November last year. So considering there's about 150 of them, done a lot of webinars. Bit about me. If you don't know me, I know there's very, very familiar names on this list of attendees I've got here today. But if you don't know me, my own business is called Clickstarter. I've got a number of other businesses that I work on, as well as e-commerce and affiliate marketing businesses. I am working with the New Business Assistance with NICE program for the government, as well as Google's Digital Springboard ASBAS program that you're getting this through now, Treaty Business Consulting, and I do a lot of work also directly with Facebook Australia and New Zealand. So what is the problem with websites today? What is the overriding issue that we have with websites just not reaching their full potential? We always want our websites to be, I guess, we go in with dreams of having a design and produce something which we can be proud of, that we can be inspired by, something that's social aware, something that's beautiful, clean, fast, it's full of our brand, it's mobile ready, it's minimal, it's accessible, it's beautiful. We just want something which is just going to be something we can put in front of people and go, hey, you know what? I'm proud of this website. I think it does the things I want to do. But the reality is that your website's only there for two reasons: to bring in leads and sales. That's all it's there for. That's 100% what your whole purpose of your website is to do. If your website is not all about bringing in leads or bringing in sales for your business, then it's pretty much just taking up spare space. It's just taking up space it doesn't need to. And this is, I guess, where we start to see the big problem with a lot of service-based websites these days, is they go into great deal of pains of explaining their vision and their mission and their purpose and their unique selling proposition, and having great photos of themselves sitting down with their smiling clients, and going into a lot of quite often a lot of jargon and a lot of stuff that really confuses the issue. It doesn't make it easy or clear, and that clarity is important, easy or clear for people to understand at a quick glance what it is you do and what's in it for them. We naturally, because we're businesses and because we want to make money, and we all grew up in an era of commercial television and commercial radio, that we think that Harvey Norman is the gold standard for how to promote ourselves. The reality is, though, we don't have the budget of Harvey Norman to follow their kind of procedures and their kind of ways of doing things. They force themselves into your life by spending the money to be there. You don't have that budget. So you need to do things that are going to be much more clever and to convert as many as you possibly can of the people who happen to come into your website. I had a problem myself where my website, well, it's a good problem to have, mind you, but where my website in the last 12 months suddenly went from, having maybe 30 visitors a week to having over 2,000 visitors a week, because a couple of blog posts that I put in my site suddenly became default answers to questions that were being asked on Google about certain topics. When all of a sudden all this traffic came in, I'm like, well, it'd be a horrible waste if just every bit of that traffic didn't convert into something that had something in it for me. Like, it's nice to have a page that gets lots of traffic, but the reality is, do you really want all that traffic with it not having an actual purpose? I don't have any desires to be a grand influencer in the bigger picture. I don't want to be a superstar on television or radio or the movies or even a Gary Vaynerchuk. What I want is leads and sales. And this whole process then took me through changing my website from something which was all about me and all about my expertise and all these wonderful stories and all these wonderful blogs to something that was going to bring in those leads and sales. And it certainly did that. What we tend to measure when we're looking for what success is in a website is things like traffic, the source of the traffic, the time on the site, where they're exiting the site. So we can go, oh yeah, I know what's going on. I'm looking for hot spots of activity to see where it is that people leave the site and where they come into the site and where they're coming from and how they're finding me. But what we really need to be starting to measure more of is, yeah, traffic is good. We need to know that there's enough traffic there to turn into leads, which turn into conversions, which give us a return on the investment of building this brand spanking new website. So it's taking away a lot of those vanity metrics, such as, where are people coming to me from? How many people all up are coming to me, and adding meaning to them. Traffic only means something if it leads to something, if it leads to leads. If leads only means something if they eventually become something like conversions to you. And conversions only mean something because they are essentially giving you that return on investment on either your advertising or your SEO, your SEO search engine optimization efforts, or the money you actually spent on the website itself. Now, a lot of you have got websites already. You probably don't need to completely go and rebuild your websites from scratch. Although I'll tell you now that the temptation is often there when I see people who just built their new website and they go, oh, geez, well, I want all those features. Then they think, oh, okay, what do I got to do? Rebuild it? Well, thankfully, most of you, and those of you who I do recognize in this call, have got structures in your website, so you can apply some of these principles to your existing websites. Those of you who I don't know are on the call, I can't necessarily tell you that you could make this done. This could be done easily for you, but it may be able to be done in a way that's a little less disruptive than building a whole new website. And ultimately, maybe building a new website might be what you need, because at some point we've gone and allowed these web designers, and I'm one myself, to design our businesses. They've basically taken a theme or a template or something which is very design oriented or beautiful, and decided that is the way that we need to run our business, not applying how we need to run our businesses onto the way that a website is going to work. We don't do it the right way round. We build a beautiful website and hope that that will somehow reflect what our business needs. But our business needs leads and sales, doesn't it? So our website then has to be completely geared towards leads and sales. And we often think, oh, I don't want to be too salesy. I don't want to be too pushy for people. I'll tell you now, people won't go and buy something from you unless you tell them. How websites and our brains work together is based upon the theory of, well, it's not even a theory, we know this works. There's an evolutionary thing, which is all about conserving calories. Basically, the brain processes 34 gigabytes of data every single day. That's a lot of data. You know, it might not seem a lot when you're streaming broadband and you're watching tons of Netflix and all that. But think about it. For every Netflix show you watch, you do not remember every single moment and every single image that shows in it. That's because the hard drive of our brain only holds 3 gigabytes each day of information. And that's our sort of like our RAM, I guess. That's the stuff which you can immediately access and throw back out again, as opposed to our long-term memory, which has a much greater capacity to hold things. So that means that we have to put our attention on the things that are going to matter the most to us. We can't remember everything because thinking burns tons of calories. It really does. It burns away so many calories. In fact, it burns as many calories as what our heart does. Our heart is beating constantly, this great big giant muscle inside our chest, constantly working away. Our brain does the same thing. It has to remain warm. It has to constantly be processing every single thing around us. It's an amazing machine. Nothing that we've built as humans has come close to it, but we do need to prioritize the information that's coming into things that either relate to our survival as an individual or as a family unit, our comfort that makes us get through life in the most, easeful way, protection. So protecting those things that are around us, protecting our property, protecting our assets, protecting what's ours, our family even. And then the basic thing of what's in it for me. We have to prioritize information down. This is why we have things like selective empathy, where I might have a lot of empathy for abandoned dogs, but I don't have so much empathy for other kind of charities and other kind of causes, because I look at the things that ultimately affect my survival, comfort, and protection, and what's in it for me. The things that will make me feel good, as opposed to the things that I necessarily will feel good, because there's so many causes in the world. We can't actually support all of them. We can't be part of all of them as much as we may try. So we have to be selective and prioritize the things that we put our attention towards. Same way, we prioritize the information that fits these 4 criteria. What's in it for me? What's going to help me protect my stuff? What's going to help me remain comfortable? And what's going to help me survive the next day? You'll often notice this when you walk into a restaurant, back when you're allowed to do those things. We're in a lockdown here at the moment. So, probably being a bit more salty than I need to be about that. You'll ask yourself in the restaurant, will you notice where the fire exit is? Will you honestly understand where the best table is? Will you understand where the toilets are, or what others are eating? Like, are you actually noticing those things? Quite often you'll look at what others are eating, because that helps you to make a decision on what may be good to eat. Where are the toilets? Well, that's because, eventually you may need to go there. So you need to know where they are. In an emergency survival situation, you might be the person who wants to know where the fire exit is and where is the best table, so that you feel like you're comfortable. So you're comfortable not sitting beside the toilets. Knowing where the toilets are and putting your table beside the entry to the toilets are 2 very different things. But in a restaurant, you won't notice exactly how many chairs are in there. You won't notice what color the skirting boards are being painted. You won't notice if they're using LED lights instead of, halogen lights in the bar. And you're not going to really notice the type of timber that they've used on the door, because those things don't contribute to your comfort, to your what's in it for you. Who cares how many chairs they are? Who cares what the color of the skirting boards are? But where the toilets are, I'm in a comfortable seat, and if I'm ordering something which I can tell that someone else seems to be, other people are ordering lots of, then that's telling me, yeah, I'm going to have a good, safe, comfortable, and easy experience through this restaurant. So you've got to be selective. But the main problem with your website with all this is we're probably looking at the wrong things and talking way too much about ourselves. So if we're not talking about ourselves, who the hell are we talking about? The problem is that by talking about ourselves so much, we get in the way of where our clients need to get to. It's too hard often on our websites to find what we need as consumers. Coming to your website and having to click through endless things, having to be seeing all these photos and videos all over your page, and then suddenly there's this list of blog articles which are oh so important for people to read so they'll know what an expert you are, but honestly do not answer the question that I came to your website for in the first place, which is, I have a problem, I need to solve it. Please make it easy for me to solve that. Please make it easy. Because basically, by putting up friction, roadblocks, and lots of other stuff and making yourself look amazing, you're basically threatening my survival. Now, this is an evolutionary thing. It's not someone literally saying, I'm looking at your website and thinking, you are threatening my survival. What we're doing, though, is making snap decisions in whether, if your site is too slow to load, if your site is too hard to navigate, if your site is talking all about you and not about me, then you're costing me too much in terms of the calories that are being burnt in the effort to find what I want to find. You are threatening my survival without me actually realizing that you are threatening my survival by making me have to think way too much. So how do I change that? And the answer always comes down to clarity. It comes down to how clear your message is about what you do and what's in it for the person who's visiting you, and trying to explain very complex concepts and complex procedures and things that may be of danger if people don't follow those things. They don't help when you don't have clarity. And clarity becomes obvious on a website through the method of structure. You structure in clarity to your website. Let's say, for instance, back in the days of Elvis Presley, my nana would have thought that Elvis was nothing but noise and the devil's music, but my dad saw clarity in it. So for him, it was something which made sense to him because Elvis was singing the songs of his youth, of his formative years. Likewise, in the 80s, when I was listening to Poison, my dad thought there was nothing but stupid noise. But for me, that was speaking my language. When they were saying that they want nothing but a good time and live big, Mama's Fallen Angel, they were talking just to me. And I felt like I was at the center of their existence. Brett and Cece and all the guys from Poison were writing music that was made for me as my formative years. My taste in music is terrible, but these days I reckon that little Nas X is just a whole bunch of noise that makes no sense to me. But to Generation Z, he's speaking to an entire generation of people who they just go, yep, he's speaking to me. I get this. This is the language for me. For me, they're clarity. But for you, old man, that's nothing but noise. We're basically drawn to clarity as it appeals to us. It helps us to save calories, which is all about that survival mechanism, and assists our survival because we don't have to spend too many calories to work out what this is and whether it's actually good for us. But that means we have to have enough empathy to know that we're in the world of our customer, and our customer could be an Elvis person, our customer could be a Poison person, or there could be a little Nas X person. We just don't know what they're going to be unless you have absolute clarity on who your customer is. And if you do, then you start to develop your website as a story. And I'm not talking about a story that's got a chronological once upon a time through to a happy ever after at the end of it. It's a very different way of thinking of a story. It's kind of thinking of it as the hero's journey, because these kind of stories and hero's journey stories, from everything from Eat, Pray, Love to Harry Potter to The Lord of the Rings to Star Wars to any superhero movie of our childhoods, is all about a hero's journey. Even Jurassic Park, E.T., any of those movies, Forrest Gump, Gandhi, all those massive, awesome movies are stories that make sense because they follow a particular path called the hero's journey. And in that hero's journey, a character has a problem. They meet a guide who gives them a plan to solve that problem. That guide calls them to action with some kind of method that helps them to avoid failure and leads them through to success, so that at the end of the day, that character is transformed from what they were to what they are. In the same sense, a character is just like a person. A customer has a problem or a desire. They meet you. You're the guide who gives them a plan, who calls them into action that helps them to either avoid failure, but also leads them to have success, to solve their problem or to sate that desire, so that they're transformed from someone who wasn't satisfied to someone who is satisfied. So if we look at a character in relation to what you sell, ask yourself, what is it that your customers actually want? If your customer gets what they want, then how will their life now be better? What are the positive consequences of the customer getting what they want from you? And if your customer's ready to buy now, how do they actually do the buying process? And this shows in clarity of the website that allows you to go, okay, does this website in front of us right now make it really easy for us to tell what they do? Now, this is a real world example of Zoe Facility Services, a company in America who, well, at the moment, facility services, what they do. They've got philosophy, our services, our team careers, get started, all looks great. Nice picture of a very, very minimal boardroom table. But do you know what they offer? Do you know how it makes your life better as a customer? Most of us probably don't even know what it is they do. The thing is, they're a commercial cleaning company. That's what they do. So when you look at a variation on that as a new one is, well, okay, this is what they do. Commercial cleaning service you can count on. Price match guarantee. Straight up. Do you know what they offer? Commercial cleaning. Do you know how it makes your life better? It's something you can count on with a price match guarantee. It says right there, glad to clean you're proud of. Your first 30 days are free. We can start 48 hours from right now. And they've got a coronavirus response. They've got a 30-day free trial. It's clear what they offer and how it makes their life better. So this brand messaging kind of thing really comes down to whether you have a really good, solid message that just in one short sentence says, this is who I am and what I'm for and what's in it for you. Big difference between what they were doing and now who they are. A very, very, very different message. Then we look at the customer as they're moving through that session has a problem. Now, what problems are your customers experiencing that are driving them to look for a product or a service that's just like your one? So they've got some kind of problem. What is that problem? Are they, just to use some examples of some people in the room here, if they are worried that someone's going to steal their intellectual property, is that the problem they're having? And how does it make them feel? Well, worried. It makes them feel anxious. How is your website then reflecting that? How are you reflecting that sort of thing? If they're looking for clarity in their business and what their purpose of their business is and how they move forward from where they are to be able to grow their business, well, what is the problem they're having there? The problem they're having there is all about they're stuck in a rut. They're stuck in not knowing what to do next to their business. So your language of your brand message will reflect that kind of thing on your website. And how does that make them feel? By connecting to the feeling that someone's having, connecting to the emotional response they're having to the problem they're experiencing, we're in a position then that they are trying to, it makes it easy for them to feel like they've been heard. Ultimately, when it comes to empathy, and Oprah once said this, all I want to do is know that I'm heard, know that I'm understood, and know that you care. And that's what empathy essentially is, that you're heard, you're understood, and you're cared for. And you may not necessarily have the answers you're looking for, but at least you feel like these people understand you. So what is on your website that tells your potential client that you get them, that you understand them? And how does that feel? Does that feel like a relief to them? Good if it does. If it's confusing, that's bad. That's a waste of calories. That's a threat to their survival. So things like this, drugs and alcohol hurt your company. That's an empathy statement. It's saying, I understand what the impact is of drugs and alcohol on your business. Decreased productivity, poor company image, injury in workplace lawsuits, the feelings come up. It brings down the morale and productivity of your team. It's knowing that you understand that there's a feeling associated with this. Hurt, major problems, harm, all those words which are very emotionally laden are used to advertise this company on their own website, that this is what they do. They do counseling and drug testing to make sure that drugs and alcohol will not hurt your company, because we understand that you have fear around this. You have fear of decreased productivity. You have a fear of a poor company image of people thinking, oh, you're the drugs company, or the injury and lawsuits that can come up as a result of that, the workplace health and safety issues. In this case, this is a veterinary clinic. And they're immediately saying, is your cat or dog experiencing these? The clarity is there. These are 5 common things that we work with every single day, chances are that these are the things that your dog is suffering from. If it's not from drastic trauma injuries, it's going to be itchy and flaking skin, problems with their coat, problems with the digestive systems, not wanting to eat, problems with being too fat or too thin, and UTIs, which are a major thing in just about every kind of cat and dog there is with urinary tract infections, and with people too. It's immediately saying that it's got this. Now, look at those icons. There's something that's very emotion laden. If you've got any kind of empathy for animals at all, you know how horrible it is for a dog to have to be wearing one of those cones of silence to make them not able to lick clean and their healing skin. For a sad cat who's fussy, a sad dog who's got urinary tract issues. So your empathy is coming through there. It's designed to make the dog and cat owner to feel something, but they're also relieved that this company, this veterinary clinic, understands them, gets them, knows that these are the problems that they may be having. Now, as the customer meets a guide, you ask yourself, like they come to you, they actually encounter you on your website or in some other way, then they're going to be looking at things like the way that you are different to your competitors, but also in what ways you are similar to your customers. Now, one of the great empathy statements you can make to anyone is, you know what, we've been there too. That's why we're able to help people just like you. Like if I tell the story, the background of my particular startup is because I was seeing so many, I was working in commercial radio and seeing small businesses being constantly ripped off and talked into by slick sales reps into signing massive contracts that they couldn't afford with outcomes that weren't guaranteed. And it ended up being a massive waste of money. And they were burning through hundreds of these clients every single year, and everyone was getting ripped off. And I wanted something that was going to offset that, gives them something that's reasonably priced that would actually give them some results that had some meaning to those businesses, not just putting, ego-laden ads on TV and radio. So my story says that, hey, I'm a small business just like you. And the reason I became a small business because I was watching businesses like yours getting ripped off, and it made me feel like crap. It made me feel like there had to be a better way. Immediately, I had a connection with that audience because they go, yeah, he's a small business just like me. Yeah, we are getting ripped off by those things. And then you have what they can trust you with to help solve their problem, which is your credentials. So you start off with an empathetic connection and then the cred. What cred have you got that helps them to solve their problems? And that comes in the form of things like licenses, credentials, certifications, and all that kind of thing. So in here, this is a company that has developed a workflow system that helps creative people to simplify their workflow. So you would look at that and go, I'm a creative person. I often have to work in coffee shops. I get that there's issues with the workflow of all the creative work I do. I can relate to that. They've said, we've simplified workflows for thousands of creatives. In that one statement, they've said, this is what we do, and this is who we do it for. So if I'm a creative, I'm looking at that going, that's for me. I do give a damn. What's in it for me? They're in it for me. Then you move on to something a little bit less creative, to something like a coaching service. We teach entrepreneurs the steps they need to bring a physical product idea to life, from finding factories to building a brand identity to shipping your first orders. They are talking about the growth of an entrepreneur. And they've then listed what their credentials are. I don't know what Babson is. I don't know what General Assembly is, but I know Forbes is an online magazine. So they've been mentioned in Forbes. They've been mentioned by the MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Media Lab. They've been listed in Makers Row. They've been on television in Boston. So they've got lots of credibility. Now, I don't think that's the best brand statement, but that's actually not a brand statement. That is just a quote that has her explaining what it is we do in as short a way as she can. But she wanted to make sure that you relate. If you're an entrepreneur, that word means something to you. From shipping your first orders, yes, that's what I want to do because I'm still yet to ship my first order. And I look at the background of where she's come from. She's been on TV. She's been part of Makers Row. She's been in Media Lab from MIT. She's worked with Forbes. That looks like it's going to be some degree of credibility for her. This other one could be, we're ready to help you be drug-free. What a great call to action. Schedule a call. And then they back that up with the credibility of, because you want to be drug-free. So there's a bit of empathy there because, yeah, of course you want to be drug-free in your workplace. Then they've got this credibility. They've been around since 2012. Over 21,000 drug tests have been done. They've got a retired police officer and drug recognition expert on staff. You can trust them to deliver on the promise for your workplace to be drug-free. Now, as a guide, as the provider, you're now going to give people a plan to work forward to, but it has to be a plan that solves their internal and external problems. Their internal problem is how they feel. Their external problem is the symptoms that are playing out in their life, in their business, in whatever it is they're doing that have caused them to come forward to find you. But so you need to show a very clear and simple plan of how they work with you. How do they work with you? And then what reassurance do you provide that makes them feel safe to deal with you as a provider? Because let's face it, most of these people are never have ever going to have worked with you, worked with anyone like you, or maybe even so far as they have no idea what it is you do. So they're looking for some reassurances of a really easy way to reach out to you and do business with you, or to get you to solve their problem. And secondly, to be reassured that if things go wrong, they've got something they can do. So what are, and I would even say not even 3 to 5, I'd say 3 to 4 steps. I like 3 steps most, 4 steps is acceptable. What are the steps that people should take in order to reach the solution that you're providing them with? So step 1, schedule a discovery call through this link so we can work out whether we can work together. Step 2, I'll send you through a proposal that outlines what we discussed and what the costs are going to be. Step 3, you accept that proposal. We do some negotiation around what's going to be provided. And we move on to step 4, which is let's get started and schedule in our first coaching session, if that's what you're doing in your business. So having that simplification of step 1 through to step 3 or 4 helps someone to easily identify what they need to do. And this is like, for instance, we're selling a car. These guys have got it down pat. Step 1, bring in your car. Step 2, we'll appraise it. Step 3, get your offer. It makes it really simple. I don't feel like this is a confusing thing. I often use the story of when I had to cater my first event of 150 people, that I found it very difficult to know how to cater for an event, simply because I'd never catered for an event before, but no one was giving me this simple step-by-step thing of this is how you work with us. They just assume that you know how catering works. This one is not even a step 1, 2, 3, but it's still just as simple. Start for free and get your first shipment. You get 15 pairs of our lenses. Keep them coming. At step 2, your $33 monthly subscription means it barely costs $1 a day. Number 3, you're in control. Easily cancel or modify your subscription to suit your needs. That is so reassuring that allows me to see, oh yeah, okay. So the reassurance is that even if I start the subscription, I'm not locked into anything. I can cancel or modify my subscription when I want. That's reassurance. So people know that they're not locked in, or they go, well, if this doesn't work for me, am I stuck into paying all this? Because we know that mobile phone companies lock us into 36-month contracts. We know that any sort of online services like to trap us into something. This could be for a home loan. So it could be a mortgage broker saying, call me, tell me about your goals and find out what you need to get your loan. Number 2, we'll plan a path to your new home, identify the pitfalls and plan the best way forward. Close the deal is number 3, sign the paperwork. So it makes a very complex situation like getting a home loan seem remarkably simple, because this particular broker has made it simple by highlighting the main steps that happen, so that you can go, oh, well, if that's all the steps are, that doesn't seem overwhelming and confusing. And I'm not wasting calories trying to work out how all this works. You're threatening my survival if you give me too many options and you make it too hard for me to know how to deal with you. So make it simple. And have an agreement in there that reassures them. Agreement doesn't have to be a money-back guarantee, but it could be. It could be, these tree runners. So these are a pair of shoes. The agreement that they've made with you is that the product you're going to get is going to be light and breezy. It's going to flexibly conform to music. It's going to make your feet stay cool. It's a great material. It's low carbon footprint. You can wash them easily. It minimizes the smell. It's so soft, you don't have to wear socks. So that's like an agreement can be a bunch of benefits about what your product brings to them or what your service brings to them. But at the same time, it can be things like reassurance that you're getting, you're getting what you paid for, that they are able to get. Now, in this case is like an email company. It's like MailChimp kind of stuff, that you're able to get your emails delivered into people's email boxes at a greater rate than, say, MailChimp allows you to. It says that switching to us from your other provider is going to be easy. We're going to make it simple for you to do that. We're going to give you guides, or we may even do it for you if it's with a common platform. And third, we've got 24/7 support. The greatest reassurance of all is that if I buy your product or service, I'm going to be able to reach you or someone at your company that can help me to solve my problems if any of those come up. That's the greatest fear that anyone has of dealing with online, is they don't know who to go back to in order to get their money back, or to cancel the subscription, or to get help if that online system, like online courses, don't happen to work with them. The greatest problem you find with online courses, and everyone's doing a course these days, is that there's no help. They just go, well, I'm doing a course because I don't want to have to talk to people. It's a waste of my time. I'm not making enough money talking to people. But people need reassurance to know that if something does go wrong, that there's something there that they can do. They can either cancel, or they can reach out and get help, and that help will be forthcoming. Next, you as a guide are going to call people to action. So you're going to have to list what your customer gets and provide a really super simple, obvious direction of how to engage with you, how to buy from you. So something like this could be a particular a proposal software that says you can have this much, this is what you actually get, and here you click on start trial and you start the trial. You start the process of being our customer, making it abundantly simple. These pricing guidelines and pricing lists like this are a great way of outlining exactly what people get and exactly what they're going to pay for it and how to get that thing. This one from Google's Workspace. Same kind of thing, very, very clear about what you get, what the price is, and the call to action is a button that says get started. So those calls to action can be scattered right throughout your website. I've got calls to action up to almost every section of my website has a call to action, because I know that unless you ask people to book now, or to buy now, or to download now, they just won't, because it's not obvious to them. There's not an obvious pathway through your site to go from someone who's just having a look to someone who's actually going to get to be a customer. Ultimately, you want to help your customers, your clients, to avoid failure. If they don't buy what you're selling, you need to highlight what the repercussions are going to be if they don't work with you, and highlight what things actually get worse for them if they don't buy from you. If they don't sign up for your service, what's not going to change? What's going to happen in their life, in their business, if they're not going to make those changes with you? So things naturally, things don't get magically better, but it's just leaving them alone. Apart from like cuts and bruises, maybe they might get better. But when it comes to major problems in your business, things don't get better unless you do something about it. So this is your chance to highlight the repercussions or the consequences, the negative consequences of not working with you. And then you also, as a part of that, get to highlight what the successful consequences are, the positive consequences of working with you. What positive changes will occur if they go ahead and buy from you or to book you? What have other people said who got their successful ending? I'm talking about testimonials here, recommendations, some sort of idea of what it is that people have done and that have worked with you before, and what do they have to say about it? So StoryBrand themselves have got a bit of an idea of here. This is straight from their own storybrand.com website, where it highlights exactly that transition from the negative consequences of not working with them through the positive consequences of working through them. It starts off, how much is unclear message costing you? How many potential customers can't hear your offer in the sea of noise? Negative. How many of your events are half empty because people didn't know they could come? How many people are passing up your consulting? Can potential customers understand why they need? It's going potential repercussion, potential negative consequence. And then it says, now here's the solution. 28 paradigm shifting packed videos, 70-page downloadable work, engagement exclusive group, exclusive access. Is saying that then finally one big statement they're making is a single paradigm shift from this course could get you a massive return. It started off by telling you all the consequences of not working with them, but then they say, but at the end, if you do work with us, it could get you a massive return. There's a potential for you to actually get something great out of this. Now, this is then shown websites. I've used this quite freely in my own website as well. So from my own ClickStarter website, I go for negative consequences. Are you struggling to connect with customers online? Struggling to get customers? Tired of hearing all this technical talk? Not sure if your social media is working? Not getting found on Google? Wasting money? Not getting the support you need? All those kind of things are then offset by here's the positive outcomes you'll get. You'll get known, get found, and stay known. You'll learn what your brand message is. You'll understand your customers' motivation. You'll stop wasting time on social media. You'll know what it takes to be found on Google. You'll learn to even do it yourself if you want to, or you can work on it with a guide or hand it over and we'll do it for you. Here's all the positive consequences of working with us. So we started off, yeah, sure, with the potentially negative things that can happen. You might not get found on Google, you waste money on advertising, but here's what the positive outcomes are. And those two sections on my website are one after the other. Negative followed by positive. We often like to put all the positive flowery stuff at the top, but if people don't understand what the stakes are, then they can't really understand what the benefits are. Benefits just look like a used car salesman that's throwing features at you and going, oh yeah, it's got this side rear bumpers and it's got this vinyl steering wheel and it's got this adjustable this and adjustable that, and all you're really going as well, I just don't want to crash. And if I do crash, I don't want to get killed. And I want to know that the cup holder takes my Yeti mug. So they'll fit in there because most car cup holders don't take Yeti mugs. They're too big. So all the things that you think are so great and beneficial about your business and what you do don't mean jack to the customer because they haven't really known what the consequences are if they don't work with you yet. So they can't really understand the good without understanding what the bad is, or even more, you understanding what the bad is in their business. So what does all of this look like? How does this play out on websites in the real world? It plays out with what we call a website wireframe, which is basically a mud map, a bit of a drawing of what goes where in that customer journey through your website. So that whole customer journey we had before, where a customer has a problem, they meet a guide who gives them a plan and shows them how to take action so that they avoid failure and get success, and then are transformed at the end of that journey. With that journey, you're following that through your website. So you use this website wireframe to work out how to either build your own website better or to work with a web designer to build a better website that's going to convert a lot more. So in the most basic sort of layout, it starts to look like this. You got your logo, you got your few little things up the top in your menu, and you got one clear message that shows that you understand your customer and how you can solve their problem, with a few quick points that show what problems you solve and how they make your customer's life better. You help them win, how you help them win the day, and here's the plan for success. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily in this sort of layout. It could be down, down, down. It doesn't have to be all the websites looking the same. In fact, I'm going to show you some examples in just a couple of moments that show you that this might seem like a very, very boring design. Once you put in all the colors and the logos and the pictures and videos and all that, it does look better, but it doesn't have to be boring. It certainly isn't a bad design thing. A web designer will look at this and go, they see potential for adding in things that look beautiful rather than looking at it and going, oh, that looks boring. Everyone's website's going to look the same. Remember too, though, that most of your customers are probably going to find you on mobile phones. So quite often we look at this thing on the left and we go, oh yeah, we designed that because we're sitting on a laptop, we're sitting on an iMac, we're sitting on a desktop ourselves right now. But our customers are mostly on mobile phones. So what they see is going to be vastly different to what you're seeing. They're going to see something more like this, the stacked version of it. How it shows up for them is different of how it's going to show up for you on a desktop. And then you can continue down that page, how you let them win the day. Here's your plan for success. Step 1, step 2, step 3 with a call to action. Get started now. Here's exactly what you're going to get from me. Here's the price options. And here's what our customers are saying about us. Follow maybe with another block that shows what memberships you've got. You're a Chamber of Commerce member. You are a certified practicing accountant or a chartered accountant. You study at this place. You've got this award. You work with Facebook. You work with Google. Whatever those credentials are, they come in there as well. So a few examples that might give you an idea of the kinds of layouts you could do that really, really work for websites. This one's for a perfect plate. So it's a meal prep service. So this is like a really soft, beautiful, very nice website. This is a service that that provides a product, I suppose. So there you go, relax and enjoy a meal prepared in your home. So people actually come and prepare the food in your home with you. It's a great service, be bloody expensive, I imagine. It presents the problem straight away. Does meal prep take up too much of your time? And then it's like, well, you're too busy to prepare meals, got all the problems. When it says, here's the solution, delicious, affordable meals cooked right in your home. Then here's examples of people who've had this done and how they think it's changed their lives. Simple pricing, simple plan, choose a plan, customize your meal, sit back and relax. So it's abundantly simple to be able to tell what it is they do and what's in it for you. Likewise, with this service for postpartum mums who are struggling with postpartum depression. And it's just saying, here's the problem. I want to help mamas thrive. That's what I want to do with on-demand classes for parents. And immediately you can go and choose a class, but the outcomes you want is lower stress, less crying, more snuggling. That's so cute. I love that. And it says, here's the problem is that most information isn't helpful, but finally, I've got a baby manual for you. What do you need? This is what you need. I understand what you need because I'm a mum myself. And then further down the site, she has step 1, step 2, step 3 of how you actually make that work for you. For a Pilates studio, it's the workout your body needs to live the life you want. So it's very clear what they do and what's in it for you. The ability to live the life you want. Pretty good table stakes, eh? Now, their outcomes are feel energized, find strength, gain confidence. The problem is here, your body shouldn't hold you back, but it is. Here's the problem. Well, now we can solve that problem. You can love the body you live in through this, through this, through this. Our members are telling us what they think of this. Here's how you get started. Step 1, step 2, step 3. So as you see, we've gone through 2 different websites here, and is it 3? No, 3 different websites here, and they don't look the same. They've got very different layouts. Let's go to one that looks even more different. So you can see you can do this process and have this kind of website without necessarily having to give up on design. Like this design is really cool. Concilio Wealth Advisors, experience the confidence you deserve. This is all about financial clarity, working hard. You've worked too hard to let money steal your freedom. It's very, very clear that these guys are financial advisors. They've got the steps, how you work with them. 1, 2, 3. They've laid it out top to bottom instead of side to side. They've made it very clear again what it is you do without compromising on their design. These guys provide parts and services and the chemicals for people who are professional pressure washers. So the outcomes are really simple. Save money, finish faster, be successful. That's obviously what these people want to do. If you're a professional pressure washer, you want to be successful, save money, and finish faster. So you don't want to have to muck around, and you don't want lots of stuff. You need to know what these guys do and who it's for. They are doing it for professional pressure washers. It's everything that they need. Great. Here's what those are: chemicals, equipment, service, and know-how. Exactly what I'd need as a chemical pressure washer. For someone who's a wedding planner, have the wedding your guests will rave about for years to come. You always remember that wedding you went to, which was amazing. It's absolutely beautiful. And you've raved about it for ages. You remember the location, the dressmaker, the cake, the dancing, the DJ, the food. You remember that one specific wedding. Well, she wants to help you bring that to your wedding, so people will rave about that, because apparently that's important. She makes it really clear who she's for. I'm here for people in Sacramento, California, a full service wedding and event planning service. And I'm all about you having the wedding your guests will rave about. So it's all about brides to be who are going to have their special day and they want it to be absolutely perfect. She's got a free checklist, or you can book a consult. It's abundantly clear what she actually does in her business. You don't have to spend tons and tons and tons and tons of calories to get there. So what is next? What does all this go to then? Is it all about then getting some clarity? Is it all about understanding what your clear picture should be, what your clear message should be? Is it about looking at your website and seeing if there's something that you can simply do to update yours to help to convert more stuff? As part of the Digital Solutions program, if you've already been registered in this program and you've got to log into businessstation.com.au, you'll be able to access a story brand consultation for as little as $66. If you've never had a one-to-one, it might even be free, or could be a $40 thing. As long as you've got to log in and you've registered, you can go to businessstation.com.au, and you can book that session with me. And what they'll give you is an example of how you can get a better idea of what your brand message is. And then secondly, I'll give you a website wireframe idea that helps you to understand how to get more out of your website that you may already have, or I guess an idea of redesigning it so that you know what it's going to look like. So I'll show you an example of one of those reports so you understand what comes with that. This is not me trying to sell it, because but trust me, I don't get much money out of this. But I'll show you a version of one that's a meal prep service on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Let me just unshare that screen and share the other one. Hi. We'll share over to here. Come on, we can do it. Present. It's not that hard. You can do it. All right, share screen, and we are off. So they're here for Shannon, who has a business that does meal prep services on the Sunshine Coast. So the first thing, we just talk about me, because that's what I do. Then we look at what her brand script is. So these are some of the ideas I came up with her. Healthy, nutritionally dense plant-based meals, healthy plant-based balanced meals, no shopping, no chopping, simply convenient. Just that one liner that explains exactly what she does. So that's what I get based upon a 45-minute to 1 hour session with you. I'll come out then with what the outcomes are that your customers want from you. And then we go to what your explainer is about who you are and what you do and who you do it for, as well as the benefits of working with you, those positive benefits of people working with you. Then that plan, that 1, 2, 3, 4 plan, I help you put that together. And then we look at what your authority is. So in her case, a certified kitchen, 10 years of research, a food safety supervisor certification, and has worked in hospitality, so knows how to run a commercial kitchen. And then this is the wireframe I start designing up for her. So how do we apply all that stuff into the basic layout of a website so you can give that to a designer and say, this is roughly what I'm looking about, look at doing, let's build that out. Now, the designer that Shannon's working with is brilliant and has taken these ideas and created a design that's absolutely stunning. It's so beautiful. And I wish I had the access to it. I'd show you what she took with this and turned it into. It was quite stunning. She hasn't quite yet released the website. It's under construction now. What it does allow you to do is to understand that there is a purpose for this. There's a design for this. This is not just something which is all about you, I guess, having an ego trip through your website. And it's not me trying to sell a service for you. Trust me, I make very, very little out of any of these sort of things. In fact, it takes me 2 hours to do it, an hour with you and an hour afterwards, and I get paid for 1 hour. So if you'd like to go forward with that, feel free to reach out to me, go through Business Station, take advantage of that offer for $66. It's about $150 if you do it outside of that, just directly through me. If you'd like to, just reach out to me through my email address and I can point you in the right direction. If you've got any questions before we go, please feel free to ask them in the Q&A or the chat. Otherwise, if you're on YouTube right now, please feel free to pop those questions in the comments below and we'll have a chat with you about that in the comments section there. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking some time out of your business to work on your business. I'm Dante St. James, and I'll see you in the next webinar tomorrow.